Welcome to the Real Estate Show on WGBF AM with your host, Charlie Butler. This is where you'll learn to sell your home quickly and for more money. And now, the host of the Real Estate Show, the guy who guarantees to sell your home or he'll buy it himself, Charlie Butler.
Good Sunday morning, Tri-State. This is the Charlie Butler Real Estate Show, and I'm here with my construction. It looks like she's constructing something here on the thing between us. Here is Evie Barr. I'm not sure what you're doing, but good morning, Evie.
Good morning, Charlie. I've got signs for you today. Yeah. That's what we're doing.
Evie doesn't know I don't know how to read, so she just put a sign that said introduce yourself, and I get so involved with our guests sometimes. We really have been fortunate, Evie. We've had some excellent guests.
We really, really have, and we just get so in tune to what they're talking about that we forget to tell the listeners who we are if they're tuning in halfway through.
It's like anybody that was listening last week, Jerry Terry talking about some of the different projects that have went on and some of the different things that are happening in Evansville and Newburgh. I think I introduced this one time, but after that, I was just really involved with her.
Yes, and I hope we get to have her back as a guest whenever we get into spring or closer to summer. I know wherever she went to leave, I said, doesn't the Newburgh Riverfront also have a farmer's market? And she said, oh, I should have mentioned that. So hopefully we'll be able to have her back on the show.
Jerry is I've known Jerry for several years. She's a real quality person. And we're going to be joined here in a little bit by Trent Sohn from Sohn & Associates. So our show, which is usually a half an hour, will only be 20 minutes this week because Trent is an auctioneer, so he'll talk really fast. And
wasn't sure where you were going with that.
But anyway, hey, I wanted you and I were talking about this off air, but was going to talk a little bit about Charlie Butler team, and we're hiring right now.
Yeah, you guys are always looking for new people.
We always look for talent.
Yes.
And I've always had a theory: you can always find a spot for good talent. But right now, the investment and commercial side of our business has grown so fast that anyone that is really looking, that wants to work with investment property, commercial property, and really we specialize in multifamily properties, some warehouses, but really multifamily, throughout Indiana and Kentucky. And we're doing some pretty good sized projects now, but we just, we've got more leads right now than we can handle.
Right.
So, which is a great problem to have. So that person doesn't have to have experience. Many times I prefer they don't. We'll talk to you. We'll talk to you about how to get your license. You can do it online now.
And how much does the education and training vary from residential to commercial? Is it the same hours?
It is the same thing. It's you can go to. I'm going to mess this name up. I know.
You're thinking hard.
I think it's Real USA, and they have. I'm assuming they buy the course from the RECP, which is the state's real estate certification program.
Okay.
But it's like $300 cheaper through them.
Oh wow.
So they're like $399.
Okay.
For that, for online, it's an on-demand course. So if you work odd hours, you can log in at 3:00 in the morning. And
that's great.
There's an instructor there, obviously videoed. He doesn't just sit there waiting for you, but obviously videoed that, and you go through the class. I've had people get through it the quickest. Somebody just was able to devote all their time, about 4 weeks.
Gotcha.
If you were in a classroom, it's a 9-week class. My understanding is that they're not going to have the classroom setting class in Evansville the first quarter because it's strictly a guess. So many people are doing it online.
Okay.
As a lot of things are going online that they're not getting enough participation.
The other great thing about Keller Williams, I know, is you guys are all about education and continuing to educate your real estate agents.
Yeah, and that's Evie. I almost called you Jerry. We were just talking about it. Evie,
I'm Evie Barr with Waterstone Mortgage. Nice to meet you.
You're the girl always looking for a date, right?
Oh my gosh! I thought we're past Valentine's Day. We're past all that. So.
No. You been on Leslie Morgan's show yet?
No, I've got to talk to her about that.
Leslie will hook you up. I bet you if you come in for WJLT in the mornings, I bet you Bobby G will hook you up.
I think Bobby's shaking his head no is how I see it.
Yes, the founder of the company, who's still very active, Gary Keller, and I talked about him like he's old. He's still very active. He's my age,
Sure.
But he said we're an education company who just happens to sell real estate.
Yes.
And Training Magazine, for the third time in 4 years, just named Keller Williams as the #1 training company in the world.
Wow.
In any industry. And strangely enough, the 1 year we got beat by Jiffy Lube.
Really?
Jiffy Lube. So when you go get your oil change, we don't have Jiffy Lube in Evansville.
Right.
But if you've got a Jiffy Lube, they're always like in the top 5.
Yes.
I mean, they're up there with us. AT&T's supposed to be really good. Edward Jones. I can't remember. I think we're the only real estate company in the top 125.
Wow. So if someone's wanting to become a realtor or they're interested in becoming a member of the Charlie Butler team or Keller Williams team here in Evansville, who would they contact?
They can contact myself, and I can put them in touch with I can put them in touch with Evan Elliott, who's our CEO. But I'd be glad to sit down and talk to them and let them just tell them a little bit more about it. And they can contact me at 812-499-7758, or email me at cbutler@kw.com. I about forgot that one. But anyway, quickly before our guest Trent Sohn is anxiously trying to get on the air.
Yes.
Here, I can tell.
Yes.
And so, anything you want to tell us about Waterstone real quick?
Waterstone Mortgage, we're going like gangbusters. We have a new loan officer who's...
I heard that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And he's a great guy.
I didn't hear that part, okay?
Craig Hubner. He is originally from the Evansville area. He's West Side guy, graduated from Wrights. I'm so excited to have
Craig
him.
Craig is actually in the studio today watching the show. Just see what we do. So
yes.
Say hi, Craig.
Hello.
But yeah, so if I'm not available, someone can always talk to Craig if they call our office at 812-463-3199. We would love to pre-approve any of our listeners for the purchase of their new home. Also, if anybody just has any mortgage questions, maybe you aren't sure if you're in a spot where you can get pre-approved yet. I'm more than willing to talk to anybody and everybody to see what we can do for them and answer questions.
If you're a West Sider, you may want to stay away from Craig because, after I mentioned some of these names here, he grew up with Derek Danks, who is, I guess the regional director.
Derek Danks is a fabulous man. And my manager.
Derek Danks bought dinner at St. Elmo's the other night for several of us. So right now he's a fabulous man. Okay, after that, But we've also he also grew up with Wayne Ellis.
Yes.
Darren Albin from the Charlie Butler team.
Yes.
Don Neal, who's the CEO at United Fidelity.
Yes. So, my former boss at Banterra Bank, Chris Rutledge.
Oh, I didn't know. Chris is in that whole West Side Mafia, too?
Yeah. Side Mafia. I love it.
I didn't know that. I liked Chris until now. I had no idea he was in such a disreputable crowd. And then there's Randy Albin, who's in the insurance business. And
yes.
The company just escapes me right now. Big building there on the Lloyd.
Freeman, Torian Hoffman,
Torian Hoffman, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah. And if not, they just got some free advertising. But anyway, enough of that nonsense.
Yes.
We do have Trent Sohn with us today from Sohn & Associates.
Is Trent a West Sider?
Actually, north side.
Okay, we'll
Way
accept
north.
that.
Yeah, almost Gibson County.
I thought you were like in Mount Vernon over there.
No, I grew up on Seven Hills Road.
Well,
as
I
far
knew
as
that,
out there
but
as you could get.
Don't you live over like between Mount Vernon and over in the west side, or over on towards Mount Vernon?
Nope, more towards Hobstadt.
Okay. He didn't want me to find his house. That's why he told me that.
Well, I'm thinking he knows where he lives.
Well, you drive by it all the time when you're playing golf, probably out there at Cambridge.
Yeah, yeah, because Trent and I play golf together. Trent, by the way, if you're ever in a scramble and you're going to gamble and you want to win, you need to get Trent because Trent is a really good golfer.
Yeah, Charlie hasn't played with me for a while, so don't get your hopes up there.
It has
too
been
much.
a little bit since we played together. But again, before we get to Trent, you are listening to the Charlie Butler Real Estate Show. Is that okay?
Yes, that's great.
With Evie Barr, of course. And so, Trent, tell us a little bit about Sohn Associates.
Yeah, well, we've been in the auction business for a lot of years. My grandfather actually started in 1936.
Wow. Oh, wow.
So I kind of was tried for a long time to stay out of the auction business. Went to Purdue, did a lot of different things, and then finally got back into the family business. So we've been doing it a long time and enjoy it. We get to do a lot of different things, see a lot of different neat items, everything from, real estate to antiques. So we get to do a lot of fun stuff.
You were out of town. I was with one of your guys. I had given him a lead on a farm auction, and I was with him for the presentation. And, I guess I had just like a lot of people have a misconception of our business. I just thought they walked in there and, hey, we want to auction your property. And I was surprised at the amount of research that you guys do. He knew how much, the yield on that ground, and, he had to produce studies. You know what I'm talking about.
Sure.
Because I don't know what I'm talking about, but I heard him say it, and I'm just trying to remember. But it's not just putting the auction signs up and talking fast, is it?
Oh, absolutely not. Especially on something like a farm, you have to be able to know the property, as you mentioned, all the features and the benefits of it. Because an auction, we basically market most auctions for about 4 weeks. So we have to know the property extremely well, so then we can find the target market and then figure out the best way to reach that target market for that particular property. And, not all properties are good auction candidates. But many of them are, and you've cross-sold a lot of auction properties with us, and so we always enjoy working with you and other realtors, and so they're always welcome, to bring buyers and participate in our auctions.
And realtors out there that are listening, that think the auctioneers are like, well, I mean, yes, of course we're competitors, but they think they're against us. Is Trent has referred, and his dad, Don, have referred several listings to me over the years, and vice versa. I've referred several auctions to them over the years, because there are times, Trent's called me and said, hey, they call me about this, but this is better suited for you, and vice versa. I've called him and said, hey, this would be better suited for an auction.
So what's the dividing line between listing and auctioning it off?
Well, there's several properties that are, when it's advantageous to have an auction, is if someone needs to turn it quickly, for example.
Okay.
Or let's say there is something that is very high demand but in low supply, like a farm, for example.
Sure.
In that case, oftentimes when you list it, you have to put a sale price on it. And when you go to auction, you can put a floor, in other words, a reserve,
sure,
but you don't have to put a ceiling price. I'll give you a quick example. We did a farm in Gibson County last year, appraised for $1.9 million. We took it to auction, did what we call our select track auction method, where we broke it up into smaller pieces and offered it in individual tracks in combinations that the bidders desired, and ended up selling it for about $3 million.
Wow.
So had they trusted that appraisal. And not saying it was a bad appraisal.
Sure.
But when that high demand met with low supply, it was able to really increase, the value of the property.
Sure.
I was at one of Trent's auctions one time. I'm representing a buyer. First time I was ever at one of the choice auctions, and I'll let you get into that. But anyway, where you start out with a group of properties, and for a large local investor, about 5 properties like that,
Wow.
And I thought, man, I'm doing good. So then the next round starts, and he's on the phone with me. He says, we're doing great. I said, well, we don't have any properties now. So tell me, and can you do this quickly to explain this where it would make sense on the radio, because I couldn't, where you can start out with having a bunch of properties, and then pretty soon you don't have any.
Well, I think what you're referring to is our select track method, where the bidding stays open.
Right.
So what's kind of neat about that?
Stuff.
Yeah. Let's just say we've got 10 acres and we have it divided into 3 tracks. Okay. We'll start out and offer each track individually, and so let's say each track brings $10,000 in that first round. That's recorded up on a board, and then we open it up for combinations. And in this particular case, you were probably in individually.
I was in individually.
And then someone came along and put a bid in combination. So if those were each at $10,000 apiece, so that's $30,000. So somebody probably came in and made a bid of, let's say, $40,000. Well, that puts everything back into combination again. But then all the bidding remains open. So the individual bidders, in this case, your investor, they could go back in and increase their individual bid if they wished. And then if it goes higher, then that knocks out the guy that was bidding on the entirety. And, of course, he could go back in and raise his bid, or he could drop off and go back in and just start competing for one of the individual tracks or a smaller combination.
I would hate to be the person keeping, all of that straight.
Yeah, that's why we have a computer, because it gets really, especially even with 3 tracks, you could have a 1-2 combination, a 2-3 combination,
yes,
a 1-2-3 combination. So you have to have a computer and experience in that to do it properly.
No, and one thing I can say about land auctions with these guys, and I'm going to try to be vague because I don't want to give anybody but you and I walked into one of your land auctions one night, and a lot of builders there. And you asked me, so what do you think? And I told you, and you and I were about the same place. The total was probably going to be less than $300,000. Well, it crossed $500,000.
Wow.
And my client, who Trent knows well, had even went close to 4 and said, hey, that's all I can do. He said, I push as far as I can. And I asked myself, you think it's the auction process, or sometimes how do we miss them that much?
Yeah, well, it's just really tough to go out and appraise a piece of land in particular. There's just so many different factors and variables. And what's really nice about the auction is there's no better way to establish its true market value in that nice short period of time. And from an appraiser standpoint, what's kind of weird about some of these sales that have gone way over the initial appraisal, the appraiser can come back and see that, hey, this property had someone bidding on it, maybe $1,000 or $2,000 less than what the high bid was. So the buyer has confidence that he's not overpaying because he's got somebody sitting right next to him that's willing to pay almost the same thing.
Right. And I remember in this case we had one builder who at the time assumed was doing it for himself or was doing it to develop. He got beat, but he was number 2 there. He wanted it, as you said, you don't ever know what they want it for. He wanted to build a personal home back there, and keep all the other. And I can remember the other developer. I was standing in the back of the room with him, And the guy that built for him says, hey, it's not worth this much. He goes, going to make a statement tonight.
We always like statements. That's all right.
And he did, I guess. So he got the property anyway. But
so I have borrowers that will call me saying, I need to get approved for a mortgage, that this house is coming up for auction and we want to be able to make an offer at the auction. I've never... I know how I've seen purchase agreements come through from realtors. I'm used to seeing those. But with the auctions, do they have the clause in there that the house needs to appraise for what the purchase price is?
Yeah. Well, let me kind of just back up a little bit and I'll get to that. But a lot of people think that when they're buying at auction, they have to have 100% of the money, that night, the day of the auction. That's not true. Most of our auctions just require a 5% down payment, and then they have 60 days to close. So I would certainly encourage all of them to come see you, prior to coming to the auction and bidding, because the way it works, we just get the 5% down. They have 60 days to close. They're guaranteed good, clear title. In other words, just like a normal transaction. But what's a little different is they're buying it as is, and it's not subject to financing or appraisal. So they just need to know that they can come up with the money. And again, very, very, very seldom do you have a property that doesn't appraise out because it was sold at auction and you have an underbidder that was willing to pay almost the same thing. So usually don't have any problem with that.
Okay. So they need to have their 5% there to go ahead and pay at the time of the auction.
We usually just accept a personal check for that, and then they have 60 days to close.
Okay. And it's completely as is. So, even if they do want to have that inspection, that's great, but you guys will not negotiate further on it.
Right. If they want to have it inspected, which we certainly encourage, they need to do that prior to participating at the auction, prior to bidding. Oh,
gotcha. Okay.
So they're certainly welcome to have it inspected, but, they're buying it as is on sale day. And that's true with all auctions.
Sure.
So, Abby, on that note, what do you do when you've approved somebody for $80,000 and the house goes for $100,000, but it'll still appraise?
Well, I mean,
I know whether it'll appraise or not doesn't make any difference to you.
Right. So you're saying the borrower purchased it for $80,000?
No, they're approved for $80,000.
They're approved for $80,000.
So if the house goes past $80,000.
So whenever I talk to all of my pre-approval clients, the first question I ask is, what is the highest purchase price you want to go? Because maybe their heart is set on this house that's up for auction, but maybe they aren't the winning bidder. So my system only takes what I input into it. So if I just put their need to be pre-approved for $100,000, then that's all the higher I pre-approve them. I like to know up front that, well, they want to only buy $100,000, but maybe they'll go up to $125,000. So we take care of that up front as to the highest amount they want to be approved for, just in case the auction comes in higher or they get into a bidding war on a listing. That's why I like to ask that question up front. What's the highest you want to be approved for?
I'm going to say something that you like here, though, too.
Okay.
You're listening to the Charlie Butler Real Estate Show.
Yay!
With Evie Barr. And so you just try to get that number where they don't leave anything on, the highest they can go, where if they lose it at that point, they're okay with losing it.
Yes. And whenever you're talking to someone to be pre-approved and they say, well, I want to know the highest I want to be approved for, well, that is different things to different people. Yeah, you might want to, be approved for the highest, but maybe the highest in your head's only 150, where I might talk to Joe Smith tomorrow and his highest is 400,000. So it has to be what my buyer is comfortable with.
So Trent, I'm tired of talking about mortgages. Okay. Okay.
You asked the question. You got me going. But I would much rather talk to Trent.
Unless we're going to talk about your dating life.
Oh, my gosh. I've got a good story for you, by the way.
Oh, go for it.
No, can't tell it on the air.
Okay. Now you have completely screwed me up now. Trent, back to you.
I have a question. So I know you auction.
Mortgages, I'm telling you.
No, you auction lots of different things, whether it be farmland, commercial, residential homes. I'm assuming you do estate sales, which will be the contents of the home.
Right. We do.
You stole my question.
Yeah. That was a plan.
We do a ton of personal property. So, like if Charlie sells the home and then they have something that they need to do with the personal property, then we can come in and assist them with selling the furniture and things like that. And we sell firearms. We've got an estate coming up with over 1,000 pocket watches.
Wow.
We've got lots of neat stuff coming up. So. Charlie's from Southern Illinois, I believe, originally,
yes,
right?
That's right.
We sold last year, talking about some weird things that we sell. We sold a noose that hung Charlie Berger.
Did you really?
From Southern Illinois.
Oh, my gosh.
I did
when
not
they
know
brought that in, I'm like, I don't know if we could sell that, Did a little research on it and found that there had been some that had sold out in the OK Corral back in, the day. But I'm still thinking,
was it authenticated?
Yes, and it's a long story, but it was tied up in court, so it did have a lot of authentication. It was tied up with
the family.
Right, the family fought over it.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was held in the courthouse there for a long time.
The Franklin County Courthouse.
I think it ended up bringing $14,000.
Oh, my gosh.
I didn't have any idea what it would sell for.
It's a great collector's item,
yeah.
So whenever you stood up to auction that off, how did it sound for you to bid? I want to hear you do your auction voice.
I usually get big money for this. So.
Oh, okay. Charlie will pay you after the show.
Well, I mean, there's different styles of depending what you're selling. Like if you're selling real estate, it's usually pretty slow. So like, I got 100,000 here. Now the quarter, 125 of them, one and a quarter. Now 30, 130,000, 130. Now 5, 135 of them, to get 135. And then if we're selling pots and pans or something, it's a lot quicker. I got 5, but to get 10, 15, but to get 20, 20. Now 5, but I'm able to get 5, but I'm on 30, 30. Now 5.
No, now I'm going to tell you the true story. Why he'll say, he'll be over there and he'll say, I'll have a client. Let's say we're at a house and we're at $100,000. He'll say, come on. He said, Charlie, just go to 110. He said, I know you can go to 110. I've got the client on the phone. I said, all right, now I can't repeat the language usually on the other end. Go to 110. And as soon as I go to 110, he goes, all right, now we got 110. Who will go to 115? You just told me that's all you wanted. You were happy. Oh, man.
You knew I was going to make him do that at some point, didn't you?
Yeah, you didn't. I was. So, I mean, you had to. But you've had, I know, over the years, and that's how I first met you was with antiques with my wife. So no, you do some neat auctions.
Yeah, we've done them for a long time. One thing I do want to just mention real fast, we are going to be changing our business model just a little bit, nothing major, but we are going to be moving our offices out to Daylight. It's 12600 North Green River Road, and then we're going to be utilizing the 4-H Center more for our consignment auctions. But nothing else is really going to change. We're still doing, our regular real estate auctions. We do tons of on-site auctions.
Thursday auction.
We'll be doing. We're scheduled here for another couple months at our current building for Thursday sales, and then we've got. I think we got 4 or 5 Saturdays already booked at the 4-H Center. So.
Trent Stone, thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. A lot of fun.
It was a pleasure. Evie, I think we ran out. Got to go.
Thanks, Charlie.
Everybody have a great Sunday. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to The Real Estate Show on WGBF AM with the guy who guarantees to sell your home or he'll buy it himself, Charlie Butler. Join us every week at this time to find out how to sell your home quickly and for more money. For more information, email cbutler@kw.com or visit charliebutlerteam.com.